All right, everybody that's tuning in, thanks for tuning in. I know it's kind of an off time. We moved it from Wednesday to Thursday, but this is officially our new time, everybody. It's going to be on Thursdays at 3 p.m., the only time zone to know, the Pacific time zone. You know?
That's right.
But we couldn't be any more honored to have a guest that you've been on our podcast another time before, and loved having you on there. It was great talking to you. So we're super excited to have you back. So without further ado, let's introduce you, Michael. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, Brian. I want to correct an error in your first minute. Is Texas time zone Central is the only time zone that we recognize. Everybody else is making mistakes.
I mean, it's kind of in the middle, but yeah.
Central is it. No, man, I appreciate it. I think you asked for an intro. So I'm Michael with Purple Coaching and Consulting. I've got other businesses, but I'm here representing that and our education series that we plan to work with FWA on in October. So
yeah. And I remember watching Purple Coaching. I mean, when I first met all of you guys, Purple Coaching maybe was an idea. It was something you were doing. And then, or maybe you already had it going for a while, but it wasn't as mainstream as it is now. Now the industry knows you guys. It knows, it knows about you. Already knew you from your fence companies and from everything, your involvement in the industry. But Purple Coaching took off like a rocket, man. I mean, you guys were everywhere quickly. So tell me about how you guys did that. How'd you bridge that? You know what I mean? And is it taking over your lives now, or are you still fence company guys?
Well, hey man, I appreciate that. All the credit really honestly goes to Robert. Robert's vision is huge for it. His passion is there. We are extremely blessed that companies trust us to bring us in different capacities. When I came on board, I was transitioning from selling a company and moving into kind of what I thought was my retirement, which was consulting. If you sell a company, everybody wants to listen to you. And so it's a really easy transition. And so Robert is not in love with tactical work. He really likes working on strategic stuff. So there was a really nice hole for me. And one thing I really appreciate about FWA and especially the education series is we get to work on a lot of tactical stuff, a lot of ground and pound. 5 million and under issues. And I really like solving those riddles with people. So I think just like with many different associations, many different coaching or consulting programs, there's a lot of opportunities to kind of put your own spin on it. And I think with what we do at Purple is we really try to think outside the box, what our clients want. And so we are ever evolving. We make mistakes too. And so, I think we have some really cool stuff coming up in 2027 that I can't just announce just yet, but we're super excited about it. So that's how we got here, man.
Yeah, that's cool. And I definitely want to get back to more about Purple Coaching because I'm intrigued by it. I mean, by how well you guys did it and everything from marketing it to the branding, to what you guys are doing and what you and your brother are doing. You guys are different personalities, and you guys have different styles, I mean, and it complements each other. So it's really cool. But I do want to make sure everybody knows we got Sasha here as well, Founders Fence. It's always good having you here, man. Like a brother to me. So, getting to hang out with you even for this hour, it's always fun, man.
I'm like the redheaded stepchild. You're like, dang, okay, I have to be here. So, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Michael, so I'm curious though, and because obviously Purple Coaching it's becoming a big deal in our industry. And purple is a weird color now I got some grape licorice yesterday. I was visiting JC Gurry yesterday, and Mary, everybody knows Mark and Mary, right? She went up to Reno or something, and I went to stop by to visit her back from there, and she had like a Ziploc bag with, she knows I eat licorice. I eat a lot of licorice. So she gave me 2 packages, one with the red and one with the grape in there. And I can't even see a package of grape licorice without thinking of you and your brother and Purple Coaching. So what was the thoughts behind that, man? I mean, tell me about Purple Coaching. I mean, it's brilliant. It's brilliant because you're not just a brand. It's like you own the color purple, it feels like,
Yeah. So I didn't answer one of your questions. Robert still owns Magnolia Fence and Patio. It's still a leader in our market here for sure. He's very passionate working with our team, but he's really tried to hand off a lot of it to the team because his fire doesn't burn there as much anymore, for sure. But why purple? Robert's so Magnolia's colors are purple, and Robert's truck seats are already purple. So it'd been really weird if we called it Red Consulting. No, so purple's kind of so we're here in TCU. I went to TCU. Purple, it just kind of stands out. Their specific purple is trademarked, and we got pretty dang close to it. But purple has a lot of deeper meanings, royalty, sophistication. And so when Robert was coming up with this second name of his business, which is always your hardest, he was coming up with all these creative names and, stratosphere coaching, consulting, all this, and he's like, let's just call it Purple. It sounds cool. It's easy to spell.
Yeah.
I don't have to change my clothes. Everybody knows me as a purple person. And what's been really neat is, especially when our team travels, purple is a relatively unique color, specifically for men too. It was very obvious. And we were at Entre Leadership last week, and you got to do the pictures with Dave Ramsey, and he'll hang out with you and all that. But he's like, purple boots, and that just stopped the whole line. And just like, who the hell is Purple Boots? And Dakota, he was there. He's like, well, we do. We're purple, and so you just stand out. And so Robert has never spent a marketing dollar. He spends it all on branding. And since you ate licorice and thought of Robert, then his job is complete, because he just decided, I want to be known for the purple person. And you can either identify that with coaching, consulting, or with our fence company. And so he's done if you want a branding class, Robert is it, man. He's got it going on. And I don't know if you've never been to our facility, but Robert, he called me. So in Texas, we have property tax. I know across the nation, some people don't. So it's a tax that we get to pay on our real estate over and over and over and over and over again. And Robert called me. He's like, hey, man, do you think the city's going to notice that I bought these buildings and these improvements? I said, yeah, man, you just painted 15,000 square feet of metal building purple.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but we're in Everman. Their school district colors are purple. I said, yeah.
No.
But you have, like a 25-foot ridge. Like, this thing's massive. It's really obvious that you put some money into this. And he's like, oh, okay. Gotcha.
You know what I like about it? Like I said, that's why I was going straight to the branding. It was just a brilliant job branding, and it stuck in your industry, and even outside. I'm sure you had bigger goals than just the fence industry when he was doing it. But I call it peacocking. You know what I mean? It's basically it's how it makes you stand out everywhere you go. Even if they don't recognize your face or you necessarily, you see a couple guys in purple shirts walking through one of these expos, you instantly pull it together. It's kind of like it's like having your Facebook profile picture everywhere you go. So I love it. But I did see pictures of your office, man, and I remember when you guys were remodeling that. That thing looks cool. That looks cool.
Yeah, the new one. We were building it for the purple headquarters so that we could do kind of like, so we have a classroom at the Magnolia headquarters, and it's just blending the two makes it really complex. It's really hard to ask the production guys to respect a classroom setting. And so we built this new building, and my brother, he's not wasteful, but he is tasteful. And so he just put a lot of money into it. It's all everybody for the fencing was like, well, this is my office. This is my office. This is my office. But that's totally purple as well. And he's just got his custom purple table with LED lights. It's badass, man. It's really cool. I'm kind of nomadic. I like to just be in the conference room and just kind of be in the mix. And he's like, hey, people's wall colors. And I was like, yeah, I'll do like a light gray and like a charcoal. And he's like, no, you have 4 shades of purple to choose from. That's it.
I've been I'm kind of like you then, because I'm in the training room right now, right? And I have my office, which is on the other side of this wall over here, with a big desk. Everything's in there. I got my monitors, and I guarantee you, I probably sat at that desk 1 hour of the last 30 days. I'm either sitting here in this training room for some reason, and I don't know why, or I'm up at the front desk at the material counter, and it just, there's no logic behind it, because, and then I get no peace, and I complain why everybody's walking up to me because I don't go sit in my office. But I don't know, man. It just it just feels more comfortable than sitting down there by myself in an office. I don't like it, I guess.
Yeah, man. For sure. I put my office at my old company at the very front. I was going, I just want to be available to everybody. What a mistake that was. Really frustrating, but yeah, I like to be on the move, man. I like the space. I like to spread out. if I want to change my environment, I get to just pick up my stuff and move around. So yeah, I'm very nomadic with my office space for sure.
So what, I mean, so Purple Coaching, it's kind of it's a distinctive name, but it's also generic enough to where you didn't tie yourself just into one industry. I'm assuming that was, intentional, but otherwise you would have been Purple Fence Consulting, Purple Fence. So what was, I mean, do you do stuff beyond fencing?
For sure. Robert and I both have been in other industries. Me being from the landscape, the green industry, I'm spending quite a bit of time in that space. I'll tell you the most interesting for me was I was hired by a doctor, and it was super cool because I knew nothing about it, so I couldn't solve their problems. So when we have people call us, whether it be for coaching or consulting, we're always like, well, we can solve that. We have a person who can solve that. And it's really hard because that's not what you're supposed to do for coaching. For consulting, yes, you give a blueprint, they move forward, and we do a lot of that as well. But with this doctor, I just got to ask a bunch of questions, and it just led to discovery. And I was like, man, this is actually easier because she can't be like, well, what would you do here? What would you price this for that? What I'm like, I don't know, and I just got really curious. And so with coaching, in full disclosure, if you were to say, Michael, there's coaching, there's consulting, there's mentorship, I find that I operate really well in the consulting. When we have a problem, and I call it fly and fix, where you just need a short-term relationship, where you need me to come in and be a new set of eyes, or somebody that has walked around that corner before and just bang this thing out. And then make sure that we're actually doing what we say a couple weeks, couple months after. And so I really am attracted to the 90 to 180 day relationships, whereas Robert is going through a journey. A leadership journey is a long thing. And probably by the time our relationship ends, his work doesn't show up until 5 years later when someone's like, oh man, yeah, I'm the wrong guy. And so he really loves coaching. Obviously, we both speak in the education series or motivational. We try not to be motivational guys because you can get a lot of that pretty easily on the internet. But I call them alternative topics. We really like kind of getting weird quick on stage. Yeah. And so, I mean, defense is easy because we're familiar and we have a business that we can say, if we tell you this KPI is here, it's been tested and proven. But like, I'll just use Sean King, for example. He is very branded in fence. He will not probably work outside of fence. His model is defined in fence. And we are trying to make sure we are putting content out that touches home services, commercials as well. And anybody that's looking to grow. I don't think we would be a great fit if you call us in for a corporate setting under a corporate education budget for a bunch of people who don't care. They're just there because they have to burn the corporate budget.
So I mean, going back in, go ahead, Thosh.
So I'm sick of hearing Brian ask questions, right? But so, Michael, how do you guys then define a good client? Like, is there such thing in, within Purple Coaching and so on? You go, hey, this is really, if you fit in this category, man, we'd love to work with you. Or do you just sort of have this broad, outlook?
No, that's actually a really great question because
Can you tell that to Brian? Because
he didn't tell me that to anything. I know,
it's recorded. No, that's a great question. Just like any customer that we have, that maybe is not a good fit, and so we have an intake form, and it asks a lot of questions, and there's some repeat questions there, so that we can make sure that the tone is actually the same. For me, I'm looking for someone in pain, somebody that is like ready. They're stinking tired of whatever's going on in their life, and they're ready to make a change. Whether it be business or personal. I didn't think that I was going to even work on the personal development side, but I've got one guy right now, and it seems like the better we make his personal life, the better his business, and we don't work on a lot of business. Robert specifically is looking for, so let me slow down. I like working with smaller teams, guys that are pretty close to the frontline workers. I am an ops guy through and through, and so I want to make sure that when people say, "Oh, I've got a culture," you really do have a culture. Most people are like, "We're family." It's like, what does that even mean? Like, and so I really want to make sure you're talking the talk. Robert wants to have bigger teams, typically 5 to 10 on the leadership, 5 to 15 million, where they have strategic problems. He is not interested in working on, okay, we had this wreck. How do you handle a workers' comp claim? Or we've got this audit. And so we're really diverse. And then we've got the financial part of that. If someone is struggling on getting, which I hate that I missed that freaking episode because it was really good. And I had someone come to me the very next week and tell me that they were getting audited. And I said, well, let me see your book. They said, I don't have any books. I was like, well, what do you have? And they're like, nothing. And I just didn't want to tell you. And we solved his problem for him, but we have a financial coach, which is Crystal, and she'll come in. So someone has a sales tax audit problem. Maybe they just need us to come solve it. So that's a broad spectrum, but like you said, Brian, we all have our own identities and we're all very, very different. A client for me would not be a client for Robert. A person that doesn't like the way Robert operates, because Robert is very bold, in your face, he'll fly out there and call you on your stuff. Might be a better fit for me if there needs to be a little bit, I don't want to say softer approach, but a different approach.
Yeah.
I'm working with a guy inside of actually one of Robert's clients, and I'm working and developing one of the operation managers. He's new to the role, and they wanted some outside help on that. And so that's, again, just three different faces, but the intake form, man, if you don't make it to the end, we're not working with you, flat out. And in the first 2 calls are typically free. We want to get to know each other. We want everybody to be comfortable. And hey, to answer even further, I have exited 3 people out of Fence. We've closed down their business and we've put them back into jobs that they are happy and really successful in. They got in this industry after COVID because they thought it was easy and they were miserable. Yeah. So me personally, I am not afraid to exit you out of what your current situation is. I will get myself out of a job real quick if that's what I feel is best for you.
Yeah. And I think that's what I was excited to have you come on board more and help us with some of the education that we got going. Because, I mean, obviously, the full throttle stuff we're doing this year. This is our most adventurous thing we've done education-wise so far with FWA and the shows. I mean, we've always had education. We've always had that stuff going on, and our classes even in this room and at the Fence shows and things like that. So we've always done, for being a fairly new association, we've always done a good amount of education. But this is a really, really in-depth one, and I think bringing you in, especially because, like you said, there's different personalities, even at Purple Coaching, and I think the people that we connect with a lot are your smaller fence companies and the people that are coming out, and they don't have, like I was saying, we spend a lot of time telling people to know your books. Well, some of these people don't even have their books yet. They've just got revenue coming through a checking account, and they're sharing the same credit card for their personal stuff as the business, and it's just a mess. And like you said, it would have been a good one for you to come on, the one where you're talking about that you're going to stand in front of somebody and you're going to have to in front of a CPA or your consultant, and you're just going to have to open up your books and understand that someone like you is not judging them because their QuickBooks is disorganized and they didn't understand how to put something in the chart of accounts correctly and stuff. So I think having people like yourself on that level is really valuable to the industry. So I appreciate you taking on that role.
Well, I appreciate you, and I really do. Sasha, were you on that call? Were you part of that pie?
Yeah, we were. Yeah. And I think Michael, the biggest scare for businesses, even my own experience in running our own businesses is, where do you put everyone says don't put the cart before the horse, but when you're starting something or you're in business, sometimes you just get lost and then you get scared and then you're like, oh crap, I'm in big trouble. And it's not that big a trouble. It's like, so we need to connect with good people, because it doesn't matter how bad you think it is. Find out, go find out how bad it really is, and then people can work with you. And I think that's, for me, let me ask this, because I know you got tons of experience in it. Like, what is the common, and I know this is going to be a really hard question to answer, but is there any common threads you notice when you, like, for me, are you sort of the fix-it man? You like the fix-it type of thing? Or what are the common issues you're seeing when you're doing out there coaching and consulting within the small business arena?
It's another great question, Brian. Quit asking this. That no.
Hang on. Let me pull this comment back up. It just makes me feel better every time I see it. No, Susan's gonna pull it down and delete it, but I screenshotted it.
So I think if you would have asked me a year ago, you would have got a different answer, and a year ago, before that, it would have been different. I've become a lot more honest when it comes to what we do here, and I'm just going to shoot you straight. I think the number one thing I see over and over and over and over again, and I'm going to give you two, but the very first one is, and I call them COVID companies, and there's nothing wrong with that. We have some brilliant minds that came out of COVID, and they're hard workers, but there was a lot of people who came out of COVID thinking that was normal, or even half of that would be normal. And there's just zero, like, they're like, hey, we have no business on the books. I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, well, I'm paying Google more. I'm like, well, you and everybody else, what are you doing? And I have this here, and I've got to share it. But so I've got pickles. My wife's got these little pickle stickers because we knew this year was going to be kind of hard. And I said, well, have you ever delivered pickles to a client? And they're like, no, why would you do that? I said, well, I did every week for 6 weeks until I earned that contract because the lady wanted pickles. And they're like, well, I would never do that. And so I think that's the most common theme that I see is that people came out of COVID with this really false sense. And then the whole world sped up. We all got better equipment. And so where a calendar might take 30 days, it's now taking 10. And then you're like, well, I'm not as busy. It's like, well, no, we're a lot more productive. But then you don't know how to hunt for that business. They're like, Google. It's like, tell me your creative marketing plan, man. Like, what doors are you banging on? They're like, you bang on doors?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man, I do. Because, I'll tell you what, it's awkward to bang on doors, but it's a lot more awkward to be broke. Like, I've been broke. I was too broke to even go bankrupt. I was so broke.
Yeah, you couldn't afford the bankruptcy, right?
And I say that in one of my speeches, and and so I think, most of us started a business out of necessity because we were hireable. And then we was prior to the internet, so we couldn't rely on the internet. We relied on our handshake and our reputation. And so going back to branding, I'm gonna throw this out to the guys that I've worked with. Gus Hernandez is an absolute brand himself. He's a walking brand. And he told us that, and I was like, oh my God, it's like you've decided to brand yourself. And then Dylan Springwater, another person that he is just a brand in himself. And they've worked really hard to build that trust in their market. And then the second thing, shockingly, is the books. It's totally cool. Listen, my books were a little bit messy over at the landscape company because I never intended in selling. I didn't think I was. And I left several $100,000 on the table because my books weren't clean. My brother's books are immaculate. I mean, it's about as real lifetime as you can possibly get it. And he makes all of the numbers be the bad guy. I am somewhere in between. I realized that I shouldn't have been okay with where I was. Robert wants it being here because he's on an airplane. He wants to know the health of his business, and he wants to be able to make very unemotional decisions. But if your books aren't okay, your audit that's coming, because we all know an audit's coming at some point. If you plan to get over $1 million, we gotta start working on that. And I didn't realize for $250 to $500 a month, you can hire a very qualified bookkeeper and have all of that stuff taken care of.
Yep.
And it's not very hard to get caught up either. Like for me, I'm like, it seems hard because I dread it.
Yeah.
I don't want to. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, I got to reconcile. Well, when I sold the company, I was doing that, and I was like, I dread it, and it would get behind, and then I just hired a bookkeeper, and man, it's the best decision I ever made. And I understand the numbers, but so those are the two: COVID and books.
Yeah. So you mean it wasn't? You mean COVID wasn't a normal situation? You mean you didn't normally have unlimited work and you could charge whatever you wanted, and the government wasn't giving you hundreds of thousands every year before that?
I had a sales guy go, man, this person only wants to meet on Saturday. And I said, buddy, before COVID, it was 5 o'clock and on and weekends because nobody worked. You guys got spoiled being able to meet somebody at 9 o'clock, man. I'm just telling you.
Dude, it was
look at car salesmen. I call them hood slappers. This one right here. They got so lazy, and then they had to get good again. And most of them were like, "No, I'm out." And that's really, truthfully, kind of, I think, really hurt everybody coming in. I couldn't imagine if that's where I started, but also I enjoyed the struggle, the journey, the struggle. When I look back at my career, that was truthfully some of the best years of my entire life. And I'm sure it didn't look like it. Sasha, you said the problem sometimes look really big. I look back 10 years ago, I'm like, I wasn't a problem. I just wish someone gave me the confidence it wasn't a problem.
And I think that's why we, at FWA, what you guys are doing at Purple Coaching, I think it's so important because it's, and I like what you said before, which is like, sometimes this business, let's say fencing, it's not for you, and that's okay. Let's identify that, and you're like this big relief. I feel COVID lulled us into this false sense of laziness from a business perspective, right? And then you get out of COVID and you don't even know what your business really looked like before COVID, right? I was saying this to the other bit. We're talking, I was like, what was business like before COVID? Because we just went like this. We became lazy. We became complacent. And now there's tough times coming, or, something happens. And I just think we've got to remember that it's okay to get out there, sales, but ultimately there's got to be a couple of basics that we need to focus on. And I love your two basics, or two, not basics, but two important topics. And I think we're just going to get back to that. And it's okay if you are freaking out right now and you're not sure exactly where you're at. It's okay. There's people to help. Don't panic. Just get it done. Otherwise, you can't be lost for the rest of your life.
I think you're going to see more and more of the salespeople. You're going to have to go back to sales. We turned into order takers for a while, and the salespeople. In fact, we took our salespeople for granted, and some of those guys we ended up getting rid of them, and because we thought we were paying them too much money, and then we can hire these order takers. But now all of a sudden, when there's not as much business, you're like, man, I would give up 2 of these order takers for one of those old salespeople I used to have working for me. And going back to what you said, I mean, even with what we're doing, like FWA, I don't know if you follow me at all. I'm still going out, stopping by fence companies, cold calls, basically, knocking on doors and saying, hey, do you know about FWA? Do you know about the fence show? Do you know about all this stuff? Because if we're not careful in our industry and every industry, we'll end up over a period of decades to where all the companies are chasing the same 500 customers. All the associations are chasing the same 500 exhibitors. All the, it just goes in all the fence companies in the town, they're chasing the same GCs. It's just, if we don't go out and make customers, these people that we're chasing out of our industry, for every 7 leaving, only 1 or 2 are coming in. So we have to make customers. We have to make people that are, if they're crazy enough to come dig holes with us on the weekends, let's turn them into full-time fencers. And guys like you and us and everybody, we're the ones that say, hey, we don't make fun of them. We're like going, we don't make fun of them because they don't got their books in line. They don't have all this. In fact, we want to help them and figure out how they can become full-time, because those are the guys that end up running our industry. Those are the ones that are buying materials, buying trucks, buying tools, feeding the consultants, feeding the associations, feeding suppliers. It's a big deal, so I'm excited, like I said, when I see the energy that comes from you guys at Purple Coaching, and you specifically, for the smaller companies.
Well, I appreciate it. I actually had lunch with a guy today. I'm kind of putting together this landscape group, a couple of smaller, and trying to put them all underneath one roof. And this guy, his books are, and he was so embarrassed sitting down because he knows my reputation in the area. And I said, listen, man, you get to run this thing rodeo cowboy style for the first year or two. I said, you just can't run it like that forever. There's some things you have to do. But I said, take advantage of the fact that Sasha, your point, you're on that climb. Like, listen, man, it's not a big deal, but if you stay there, that's a real big deal. So you've got a ticking time on sales tax, on how you pay your men, how you invoice, the line of credit, the bank. All these things have timelines and expirations. And I said, don't be ashamed, man. When you started this, you were probably making some extra cash, and then you start making more extra cash, and now you're on the tool bag, and you're tired at the end of the day, and you don't have enough cash to bring someone in. And he told me, he said, like, we do this. I just want an administrator. And I said, buddy, don't worry. I already knew that was coming, And yeah, and so and Brian, back to your point about the selling. There's the famous sales quote: "How many no's are you willing to get a yes?" And it's just unbelievable that like 2 or 3 no's, and people are like, "I give up." It's like, man, your wife and your kids expect you to get at least a couple dozen no's. I mean, that's
right.
That's crazy. And really, I mean, email and text messages, you can take the fear out of it. I mean, you can start just there. Send an intentional gift to somebody, and I don't think it's really that complicated. I think people just are quite honestly lazy and uncreative. My personal opinion.
I think, Michael, we think that we're all, and I like what you said about consulting or coaching with the doctor, because that's that's not your profession. But when you look at everything in business, the common thread is we're in the service industry. It just, they're all different. Okay, one person's a bartender, we're a fencer, there's doctors, but the common thread is service. And if we just do the basics, pick up our attentive to our customers, like you said, work through the no's, throw a gift here and there, and just service, we're going to take these businesses, I think, to another level. But we've just got so complacent in business. And I love what you said before about, magic. I've got a 5,000, 10,000 Google ads. Like, what makes you different from anyone else? How about you do go pick up the phone? How about you do go to the house? How about you do a physical handshake? And I think that's what we've forgotten, that we're all in the service industry. We've got to serve in order for our businesses to even start to turn profits,
For sure. Listen, I think Google, you have to have a presence in, oh, there I am. I think you have to have a presence everywhere for sure. But if that's your parachute, you really need to call somebody, like if in the fence industry, or go to these trade shows and ask and understand that it is serving. I love what you say, our service business, serve. I love that. I'm going to steal that, Sasha, by the way. Yeah. So
notice how you haven't stolen anything that Brian said. Just note that tonight.
I don't know what you're going to steal, but Sasha, will you say it in English so I know what you said? And I might
yeah. I can't help it. I pure others English.
So let's not forget though. One of the things that I'm really excited about, and a lot of people don't realize, Mike, you may randomly stay in touch. Throughout the last couple of years at least, right? So we randomly text, stay in touch, and stuff like that, and we meet up at some of the events and stuff. I was excited that you became one of the instructors this year for our Full Throttle experience. With the Fence University and the Fence Show. So you're going to be teaching though. You got a few different courses coming up, which is focusing on processes, accountability, communication, and one thing that I thought was unique about you was you're just like, you almost fit like a lot of the categories of the things we were doing. So it was fun when you were talking with Veronica and stuff, have you kind of pick and say, hey, I really like this, I like that, because I think you fit a large amount of the stuff that we're doing with our member base and with people that are coming to the Fence Show. So what made you want to get involved in this? I mean, this is the first time you've really been this involved in some of the events we're doing. What did you want to do it?
Brian, probably your passion. I can feel it. People are like, oh man, our culture. And I always tell people, why it's so hard, why people always say family, is because it's really hard to describe a feeling. Culture is a feeling. And so, Brian, I can't describe it other than the fact that I can feel your passion. I truly do. And that's not BS. I really do. And so I feel like there's been a hole in the industry where people are really wanting to learn really tactical stuff. And so one of the things I do appreciate about Sean King is like, he'll get out in the field, he'll work with you. I think people are thirsty for that. I see the gate operator stuff. Yeah, people are thirsty for that stuff. And then when I got, and I'm not going to spoil everything, but when I got the curriculum that you guys sent, I was like, holy cow, this is going to put me out of a tactical job, because this should be your education budget for not only owner. Honestly, I would probably say this is your team going to this stuff. Every team member has a track in here. And then I had worked with Veronica, and I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to get you in trouble, but Room 4, did she tell you about my idea with Room 4?
No, I don't think so. If she did, she's always, I mean, she tells me a lot of stuff. So what, you want to say, are you allowed to say
I'll say it. Yeah. So
she
said, hey, what do you think we should do in room 4? And I said, listen, I think there should be an administration track. We focus on sales, we focus on production, but we forget the glue that holds the business together, and that's administration. And I think that word gets downplayed because if you have never had a really good administration team or a really good office team, then you don't know what you're missing out on. These people are absolutely the salt of the earth, and they're the detail people. We believe in DISC. They're the CNSs. They keep us wild childs in line. We'll go light a bunch of stuff on fire, and they're out there extinguishing it. And so, but I mean, ultimately, listen, this is real stuff. There is conflict between sales and ops. Ops thinks sales is wrong. Sales thinks ops is wrong. And I have an exercise where we built Lincoln logs. And I was a customer. I told the salesperson what I wanted. The salesperson then had to go tell the ops person. And this was over the course of 3 days. And it was a total mess. And I said, listen, this is how easy it is. We do this for a living. And if I read what the sales wrote and I don't understand it, the customer doesn't understand it. I can promise you that. And that's not necessarily the sales guy's fault. The sales guys have a really hard deal. They have 20 minutes typically to build trust. Now, you guys talk about the handoff and the work order. Well, a work order at your company might look very different than a work order at Sasha's. But how do you create the conversation to where you guys can just go ahead and put the swords up and say, hey, listen, let's talk about the customer journey. How can we give them the best experience? And if that handoff is not done right, all the promise on marketing doesn't matter. And then when you go to collect. And so from the first time they see you to the last time they see you, that message has to be consistent all the way across. And so there's just one of the topics that I absolutely love. Commercial bidding. Listen, I'm not going to teach on that. I'll tell you creative ways to get commercial customers, but people are bidding jobs that if they were to get them, they would be out of business. Like 100%. And coming from the landscape industry, we were spoiled. We had L1, -1, I1, -1, and it's right there. Here's what they do with fence. They just sprinkle it.
Yeah.
They're all 500 pages.
Sometimes it's in civil, sometimes it's in landscape, sometimes it's in the site plan. I mean, it is, and they want you to bid it per bids and plans. And plans and specs, or I mean, so they're just so generic, and they're like, oh, use your errors and omissions insurance if you miss something. And I'm like, and what really makes, don't get me all riled up about this. You get a GC and like you bid this at 130,000, and everybody else bid it at 500,000, and he knows you missed something, right?
100%.
He knows you missed something.
Well, think about so I started bidding this fence stuff, and I was like, oh my god, there's little gates in hallways and stairways, and I'm like, no, I'm done. No, if it's not a dumpster enclosure, I'm done. And so, again, I think it's great because one of the people that I get to go educate with is I'm going to say his last name wrong, but I think he pronounces it wrong. Dan Tuberville, Dan T. His podcast is based around a lot of commercial bidding, and because he doesn't want people to get hurt. And these are people he's competing against across the nation, and his goal is to where people don't get hurt. And his team are dialed in. He built I don't even tell you how much money he spent on that software, but so much money on the software to help protect him. And so I think it's so cool that, someone come to your class and like, I want to get into commercial. And it's like, do you though? Because if you do, let's make sure you have the cash. Let's make sure you understand retainage, because retainage is, that's a whole nother beast. Then you got to understand when you got to get tough with the GC, how many bids you really have to turn out to really get one back. And then, to your point, you probably can dig one insurance claim on errors and omission before they're not going to accept the second one. And so I just think that these are real topics that we need to talk about. And I love leadership, and I love talking about culture, and I love all of that stuff. But if we don't get this list right that you put out, man, none of it else matters.
Yep. Yeah, and I like Dan. Dan is amazing. He's who I send everybody to when they have questions on it and they really want someone to talk to, and he's always willing to talk to them. But it's Simpalo was the software that he has. I'm pretty sure it's still called Simpalo. But Simpalo, right?
I love him. He rebuilt it completely himself through all of the AI channels just to challenge himself. Yeah, and I mean, that guy is brilliant, and he really would. It's and that's another thing interesting about our industry. I'm going to sidebar here. You go into any other industry, and everyone looks at each other as competitors. Fence, when I went to I went to Fence Tech after I sold my company. I just looking for a place to hang out because I was bored and retired. And I was like, man, everybody's trying to help everybody here. This is unreal. This would not happen anywhere else in any other industry. And I can promise you, in landscape, that sure as heck wouldn't happen. And so I think that you guys have created a platform to where if somebody is in trouble, they don't necessarily need to call me and pay our rate to come out immediately. They can go do some research inside their tribe. They can call the people, the influencers, the personalities of Fence, say, hey, is this serious enough to where I need to call somebody to come in and clean this up? Or do I even have the ability? Like, people hire us because they're like, we have a guy that, sorry, now I'm off track again. I had a guy that didn't have time to look for his salesperson, so he hired us just to look for a salesperson and interview them and blah, 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 blah. And so I just think it's so interesting how Fence is so open and willing to help each other, because Dan bids in all 50 states, and to challenge himself, and he talks on this, his personal goal is to install a fence in an active war zone. And the reason being is he wants to know if his team logistically can pull it off.
Yeah. And Sasha, Dan also, I saw his last, it's the Fence, it's a Fence show. What is it? Fence Show podcast or something.
I don't know.
It's a good podcast to watch if you haven't watched it. I'll have to drop a link in there if I get a chance. But Sasha, Dan is also the one, I believe, on his last podcast that I watched, where he's chasing his dream of not just working in a war zone, but he wants to get a race team together for the Baja. That's that guy that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel too, Michael, the cool thing about a good community, it's like that saying, it takes a village to raise the kids, because often as parents with kids, it's the same with my business. I need help. Like, there's days where I'm conquering the world, and there's weeks where I'm just, man, what's next? And I feel like as we, in the good communities, like you said, you can have some advice, and then, guys, you need to talk to the Purple coaching team. Like, this time to actually, and I feel too, everyone's so scared. And I don't know why. I don't know where we've gone wrong. And that's why I really get so excited when I get to meet people like yourself and women, what they're trying to do. I feel like we get so much money, I can't afford it, and I'm lost. And then you sit down with your team, you're like, oh, okay. Everything costs money, but it's the improvement you make to your business, which ultimately is your personal life. It's worth the effort. And I feel like a lot of people are so overwhelmed in their businesses, both positive and negative. It's all over the place.
Rapid fire. You hear that? Rapid fire time. Hey, because if I don't get this in, I get in trouble, you guys. So Susan always gives me some rapid fire questions.
Already, I'm bleeding in the back here.
All right. So we're gonna, you're not gonna get away with no rapid fire questions here, Michael. Are you ready? Okay. Sure. Just first thing that comes to your mind. Here's just a few questions. And by the way, it's the first time I read them too, because she gives me these things kind of spontaneously towards the end, just so I can kind of do it. So it's rapid fire questions. What's one business habit every business owner should develop?
Take time off, but actually take time off away from everything and let your team figure it out.
Okay.
All right, rapid fire.
Yeah, I know it's tough. These are tough, man. But it is. So here's one, and it's one thing every crew leader should stop doing immediately. You're gonna be like taking time off, right? No, but no.
Oh man. I don't know if it's not stop doing, but they need to just make decisions. We pay them pay them to make decisions, because we get decisions.
That's a good answer. Yeah, there's a lot. You get a lot of crew leaders in charge of your trucks and stuff, and there's a lot of times they're standing around waiting for you to answer a question. You're like, if you got to go out there and you got to go out there and answer all the questions, why do you have him out there, right? And why is he making that extra money? So that's a good answer. Yeah. And I know, Sasha, I'm going to do them because I know you didn't get these, I don't think, in time. Did you get these?
No, I know where I feel. I know where I'm placed. That's cool. I get it.
Okay, so I don't think she sent them to me. Okay, so one thing every salesperson should start doing tomorrow.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wait, is it me or Sasha that's answering
No,
this?
not me, dude.
This is all you, man.
Oh,
One thing every salesperson should start doing tomorrow.
build a creative marketing plan for themselves.
Okay.
For themselves.
The pickle, their own identity, their own brand, what they're looking for. People need to get a lot more creative.
Yeah.
So.
And not just themselves, but or not just the company, but they should have a marketing plan for themselves. If you're in sales, you're always selling. I mean, you're selling yourself and the company and the jobs.
Yeah, every single time someone sees a fence, they better think about you, and then that's why I think you need to have your own identity in the field of work. So, like you said, purple licorice, you think of Robert. I mean, there's just no way about it. So you need to brand yourself. So.
Yeah. So last question. It should be an easy one. I know it's tough. So these questions just out of the blue, right? What's the biggest opportunity in the fence industry right now? I mean, is it starting to coaching? I'm going to do black hat coaching here, I think, after I'm so excited after talking. But what else? What's the opportunity right now in the industry, you think?
I think there's two. One, I think that security is extremely important, and I do believe, and I don't know who I need to talk to, I do believe that Fence is going to get their own page here pretty soon on specs, because security is such an important thing for everybody right now, because the world's a nasty place. But two, and this is why I have to include two, I think that the future of Fence can be determined by who's in it right now, and that's super cool. You can't do that with some of you can't do that with oil and gas, you can't do that with real estate, you can't do that with landscape, but the people that are currently right now inside Fence is going to completely change the way that the next generation does business, and that is nowhere else, because we are the ones, us, that are running. We have been gifted to run this industry, this multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yep.
And pave the way and put best practice in and make the rules of what is standard. And I think that's super cool. And so if people aren't pouring into the industry right now, that's silly, man. You can absolutely change history if this is your career path. I mean, I really strongly believe that. I think that's what's so attractive about this industry is, you don't like something, guess what? Create a rule, and in 10 years from now, everybody could be pound and post. I don't know, whatever it is, right? So
I love that. I love that. And I tell people all the time, even us, besides just us fence companies, us associations, it's a big responsibility right now. I mean, we're literally shaping the industry, and I don't take it lightly, because I know, we have an influence like you do, like everybody else. We all have our own influences on the industry. And, I don't take it lightly either. So I'm pretty excited, about the direction it's going right now and everybody that's in it. So, Michael, I want to say thank you for coming on and taking the time. I know you got storms and stuff coming in. So the fact that we had you this entire time without internet dropping was a big deal. I was kind of going to be bummed out if we lost you. But you got multiple sessions coming up. If anybody wants to hear a little bit more from Michael about Purple coaching, obviously you could reach out to them directly, reach out to us, and we'll put you in touch with them. But a better way to find out more is come shake his hand, come sit in one of his courses or his classes, and offer to buy him a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever they drink in Texas, and he'd be happy to sit down and talk. That's what the fence show is all about.
Tito's from Texas, isn't it?
Tito's, man.
Tito, yeah. That's an interesting deal, because they said handcrafted, and when they got bigger, then they got sued because they weren't handcrafted anymore. But it's still a really good vodka. But it's funny. There's kind of a trend in fence right now where everybody is not drinking alcohol, which is fine if they want to do that. But I don't believe in that trend. So I think a lot of good conversations and friendships come from it. So yes, I'll be more than happy to have a beer, have a glass of wine, whatever with you. So I'm super pumped for October, man. My wife is going to be coming out with me as well.
Awesome.
And she actually is wanting to sit in some of the classes, because she only gets to see bits and pieces. And so I haven't seen her this excited. She's read the curriculum, and she just knows that this is really what I'm passionate about. So I'm extremely excited for this, Brian. I think that you and your team have really thought this through. So
that's really cool. So everybody's listening, if you're interested in coming to the fence show, it's the same as every year. Go to fenceshow.com. You can get your passes there, find out a little information. Tell everybody how they would find out, contact you or get a little bit hold of you and your website and stuff for Purple Coaching.
Yeah, so purplecoaching.com is the easiest way. We have, like anybody, a form that you can submit, that, a curiosity form. You don't get you don't get all the questionnaires. Also Michael at Purple Coaching. And then because we live in a world of text, my cell phone, which you can find it on our platforms. Just don't email Robert at Purple Coaching, because he's going to want to work with you first. I want to work with you.
Get a hold of Michael.
And then Facebook, any of those channels, but Purple Coaching is the easiest because it gets filtered really. I mean, we're very, very strict on anybody that takes the time to go through our platform to learn and be vulnerable. And so it shows a level of commitment if you go to our website. It's important. So
yeah, that's awesome. Everybody go check out his website, come to the fence show, come meet him in person. Sasha, thanks for coming on. We appreciate your time as always. I know you stay pretty dedicated to the cause and FWA and the fence show and all the support from Founders Fence. We appreciate that as well. And of course, our sponsor, JC Gurry, which is one of the people that helps make this podcast possible. We love you, Mark and Mary, and all the support you guys give us. Everybody, we'll see you next week, but also see you next October at the fence show. Michael, we'll talk to you later. This October. Yeah, I don't know next. It's next to me. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
See y'all. Thank you guys.